Hello, my name is Olivia, and welcome to my YouTube channel space where I talk about books for the most part, occasionally, not very consistently, but sometimes. But this year I do want to try and upload a video every month for like a recap, which I tried to do last year and just failed at. I just didn't do it. So I really want to do it because I think that would be fun, and I think it would just be cool, even if nobody watches any of this, to just have it cataloged and just remember exactly what I felt right after I read these books. This is just an outlet, you know? I don't have any other outlet in my life other than this. I just have to like talk it out, okay? And the internet is the only place where I might potentially connect with other people who read. So, you know what? I just gave you a piece of my heart, okay? I'm sorry. Today is the last day of or tomorrow's the last day of March. It is the end of March, and I read 6 books that I would love to talk to you about. So let's talk about these 6 books that I read this past month in March. So the first book that I had finished in the month of March was Six of Crows by, I'm assuming it's pronounced Lay? I'm assuming it's Lee Bardugo. I'm not good at names. I'm really sorry if I messed that up. I should have looked it up. Correct me if I was wrong. But anyway, Six of Crows. This is a really popular fantasy novel that seems to have a place in a lot of people's hearts. I've heard a lot of people talk about it warmly and with nostalgia. And so I decided I needed to see what was going on. And I was impressed. It exceeded my expectations because I really wasn't expecting like anything too special. I don't know. I was really impressed. I loved the writing style. I loved just like the universe that it's set in. Like I thought it was just really, really well done. And I guess I expected it to be a little bit more childish. I don't know why I thought that, but it wasn't. It follows these 6 teenagers. There's Kaz, Inej, I think it's pronounced Inej, Nina, Matthias, Wylan, and Jesper. And they kind of are just like going on this like crazy heist, and it gets intense and things are happening, and it was very action-packed for sure. But I think kind of what I liked the most about it was how detailed it was and just how well developed this world is. Like the different places, the different characters, the history, all of it was just so, there was clearly just so much effort put into it, and that is just admirable, and I really appreciated it. And it allows you to be so much more immersed in the story that you're reading. So I loved it. I thought that was really awesome, and I got really emotionally attached to the characters again. I am having a lot of trouble not becoming overly emotionally attached to fictional characters. I think I need to stop expecting that any book is ever going to be a casual read, because you never really know. Like it could go either way, but you should be prepared just in case. Like, yes, I did buy Crooked Kingdom. Yes, I'm going to read it here at the beginning of April. I freaking am the cliffhanger. I am horribly attached to what's going to happen to these people. And I also think that there's like a spin-off for some of the other characters, I think, which I'm also knowing myself, I'm probably going to end up reading it because I can't help it. I can't help it. They're all so cool, and they're all so interesting, and they're also unique, especially, which is another reason why I think I'm going to end up reading the spin-offs, because like every single one of these 6 characters is like their own being, their own whole thing with their own background, and it's so cool. And I loved them all. They're so cool. The writing is so cool. The world is so cool. The conflict is so cool too. Like the heist that they're on, this like magical drug danger thing. I don't know how to explain it more than that. I don't want to like give away everything because I feel like it's kind of cool learning it as you go. Yeah, I think I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. It was really good. I loved it. Okay. I will be picking up Crooked Kingdom here very shortly. Okay, so I have tried to film the clip about this second book twice. The first time, my microphone disconnected. The second time, I was filming in slow motion on accident because I'm on my phone because I messed up the camera. You know what? I'm a mess. Like I said in my last video, I'm not a professional. My cinematography skills are lacking. I'm trying. Give me a break. Anyway, the second book that I finished was actually the finale of an entire 8-book long series, Kingdom of Ash. This almost 1,000 page long book is the epic finale of the Throne of Glass series. This book was it was really great for me, because things keep going wrong, but I am so determined to make this video happen. So as I was saying, I dedicated 8 books worth, or at least like before the book, 7 books worth, now 8 books worth of my life, of my heart, of my brain, of my soul to this story, to these characters. So, you know, having a good ending, a good, full, satisfactory ending is important to me. Is important to my general life satisfaction. And that's what I got, you know, it being almost 1,000 pages, like it has a lot. It has the details, it has the juice. And it was just good. And it was what I needed. Scratched that itch in my brain. And like I said, it was epic. And it was just, it did what it needed to do. It did its job and it did it well. And I found myself being very happy with it, and also devastated because it's over, and that is hard to tackle. It's hard to comprehend the fact that like it's just done. Like after I closed that last page, it was just, that's it. But it was fun. It was the ending of a really fun series, and I had a really great, fun little time. And so if you're somebody who likes fun, read it. It's a story about a bunch of really cool people in a really cool world with cool magic and creatures and stuff. And there's lots of conquering and killing, and it gets really sad and gut-wrenching. Okay, you know what? It's great. All right, we know this. Moving on. So then I took quite a different route, very different genre, very different kind of reading experience, and I finally read Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Now, this is exciting to me because I got 5 of her books, like a set of her 5 most like famous books, for $12.50. That's 5 books for $12. I'm proud of that, okay? Thank you, Half Price Books. I'm very happy about my purchase. Anyway, so, you know, Pride and Prejudice, it's a classic of classics. You know, everybody knows. Everybody's heard of Pride and Prejudice. And I finally read it. And this book is so fun because it is a look into the early world of romance novels and kind of a lot of the tropes and plot lines that we read today in their earliest forms. And that is so fun. It's like, you know, it's the 19th century romance genre, you know, like, are you kidding me? Grumpy Sunshine in the 1800s? Like, that's fun. It's whimsical and it's cute and it's atmospheric in the sense that you get to imagine it in this very like different time era, you know, all the beautiful dresses and the balls and everything. And that's kind of fun. And it's kind of cool. And I just found it to be generally really, really interesting to read and funny. The only thing that annoyed me about this, and I also noticed this in the book Emma, which I've read, which is that I don't know if it's the time period or the wealth of the characters, or it's just Mrs. Austen or Miss Austen, I don't know, but they care so much about manners. She nitpicks these itty bitty little tiny details about people's manners, and like it's the stupidest stuff. It's like,
did you see the way that she looked at him? He didn't dance with enough women at the ball. Did you see what she was wearing?
Like, just,
did you hear the way that she said that? Did you hear her tone?
It's so nitpicky for everyone and everything all the time. And there were so many points where I found myself being like, can we just move on? Can we just think about something more important? Because this really does not matter. It's judgy. It's judgmental sometimes. And so I knocked off 0.5 of a star for that. So I gave this 4.5 out of 5 stars because that annoyed me. But everything else was fun and whimsical. And it's 2 characters, a man and a woman. They kind of hate each other and then they fall in love. And that's like, we love that. We love that nowadays a lot. Except this is in the 1800s and it's innocent and sweet and magical, and I think it's a good read. I think it's a good read, especially, you know, in like if you're comparing it to modern day romance and seeing that it's actually really similar and low-key the same, except there's just no smut in this one. So yeah, or kissing or anything. Finally got through the first half and now I can start the second half. And so the next book that I read was a book that I absolutely loved and adored, and it is Riders and Lovers by Lily King. And I actually wrote some notes about this book and I want to read some of it because I think I described it well, because there's so much that happens in this book and so much that I think is important about this book, and I don't trust myself to just talk off the top of my head like I have been doing. I loved it. This is 5 out of 5 stars for me. It's incredibly sad, but it's beautiful and it's insightful. It's emotional and it's important. And when I first bought this book, I was like, this book might make me cry. It didn't, but it easily could have. Like, I feel like this is a cryable book, but I personally didn't cry. Anyway, it follows a 31-year-old named Casey. She is a writer and, well, she's writing her debut novel, but right now she's working as a waitress. And she's dealing with a lot. She has recently lost her mother. She's thousands of dollars worth in debt, and she's just recently been broken up with by her boyfriend. And she's just not having a good time. She doesn't like her waitressing job. She's having a lot of trouble finishing her debut novel, and she just is feeling very lost in her current space. And I think something that, that I liked about it is like the fact that it takes place in her early 30s, because I feel like there are so many stories and books nowadays and movies and TV shows and everything that are all about teenagers or like really young adults, and it's just like those aren't the only points in life where you have to learn things, where you're going to be confused, where you're going to be scared. And she's dealing with a lot of anxiety and depression, and I think it's a really good look into mental health and how the world around you can suck and make you feel hopeless and scared and everything. But she learns a lot. Casey learns a lot in this book, emotionally, creatively, and romantically. And I think that the three of them kind of intertwine and work together to just generally, reshape the way that she's looking at her life. I loved something that I thought was really fascinating about this book is the prose. It's written with a very fascinating tone. It has a lot of character to it, not even just like in the words itself, but in the sentence structure, in the order of the sentences, and in its general, like it's in its allusions and its metaphors. And sometimes it's blunt and like very straightforward, but oftentimes it's pointing out strange details that I don't think most writers would be pointing out in their character's world. And I think that kind of works to get a better look into her mind. And there is a lot of this poetic language, but not in a flowery, like complicated way, in a very straightforward and real kind of way. I really felt like I was just looking into her mind, and there's so many amazing metaphors and just like representations, and specifically the way that Casey associates the things in her life and her experiences and her surroundings with herself and her past. Oh, it's so good. And then it gets so beautiful and so sad. Yeah, it's vibrantly, and when I say vibrant, I mean it feels vibrant. Like you're reading it and you're seeing it and you're feeling it, and it's, yes. I think it paints a really good, clear picture of who this character is and how this character thinks and just feels. I think her life as a young woman is both unique, but also highly relatable. A lot of the feelings that she's feeling are the way that a lot of us feel at all different phases of our life. And the experiences that she's experiencing, they come in all different kinds of forms, but I think that they're pretty universal feelings at some point or another. And it really, really, really touched me. I mean, and there's also, obviously there's a really big look into creativity in writing and also sexism in writing, which, it's lightly touched on, but it's there, and she notices it, specifically in her romances and in her relationship with male writers and stuff like that. Like I said, everything kind of comes together, and it's just, I liked it. Oh my God, I liked it. I felt really moved, and I don't always feel that way about books, and I really liked it. So then, 5th, I finished The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, and this book is freaking fun and beautiful. I mean, it's about a mysterious, mystical, magical circus in the late 19th century, / very early 20th century, and it is so beautiful in so many different ways. And I was, it's enchanting. Like, you're very drawn in by it, which I think is kind of the point, and it's done well, because the circus itself is something that is meant to really capture people's eyes and capture people's minds, and it works. It happens. It does. It's generally about these two people, Celia and Marco, both of which who are raised learning how to do magic, and their respective caretakers, guardians, have been pitting them against each other in this kind of magic competition for some reason, and they both end up being a part of this circus, which will end up serving as kind of like what is supposed to be like an arena or like a playing field for this competition of sorts. And along with that, you know, there's just a lot of other just really cool aspects of what the circus is, and it ends up being so much more than just the two of them and their situation. It is everybody who works there. It is all of the people who love going there. It builds a community, and within the circus builds a family, and it's so beautiful as well as just fun. And I had a really good time reading it. I was just so interested the whole time, and it's just it is a very, very atmospheric book, which I've heard people describe it as that before, but I also liked the plot as well. I heard people describing it as more vibes than plot, but I actually think that the plot is very present, and I just think that it connects to the circus in general. You end up feeling immersed in both ways. And there's also even little short chapters that are in second person, meaning it's describing like you, the reader, your experience walking through the circus, which is crazy. I thought those were so interesting. They're only like a page or two, but they're so cool. And yeah, I would highly recommend this book. Oh my god, it's so fun. Yeah, it's fun and it's beautiful, and the writing is so well done. It's very eloquent and elegant and fitting of the vibe of the energy. The tone is it fits that like magical, mystical kind of vibe, and that third person narrator kind of adds into the kind of mystery of the circus and of like what's going on. And yeah, it is so cool. And I guess it is a little bit slower paced, but because of the content and of the fact that it is this really beautiful place and this really magical, captivating story, I don't feel like it really hinders it that much. I mean, it is so beautifully written that even the like boring parts or the slow parts, they don't really feel boring or slow, because you're just so interested in what the author has to say and what is just happening in this world. And I think that that's really incredible. Yeah, now I really want to read The Starless Sea, because I feel like that's also going to be good. So 5 out of 5 stars, because I had a great time. And then last night I finished The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by Roshani Chokshi. I think that's how it's pronounced. Anyway, this book terrified me. I was actually like kind of freaking out at the end. I had such a physical reaction to this book. Like my heart was pounding, my mind was racing. It's short too, but there's so much that happens. It is kind of a fairy tale-esque story about a man and a wife who are married and in love, but this man who doesn't get a name, he's called the bridegroom, based off of a fairy tale that has to do with something called a bridegroom, in which a wife finds out secrets about her husband, but this one is kind of vice versa. So the husband doesn't get a name, he's called the bridegroom, and his wife, named Indigo, he's in love with her, he's enchanted by her, she's very mystical, angelic, and captivating, but she makes him swear that he's not going to pry into her past. He's not going to try and figure out her secrets. He's not going to try and figure out, all these things about her past. They're going to have a new life together. Obviously, that's really freaking hard for him to do. He is very interested. And so we get into that really fun, like past, present, switching back and forth. It gets so suspenseful. We learn about this specific childhood friend that Indigo had growing up, and all of the things that happened within their childhood. And it's so crazy, dude. It is so crazy, dude. The summary on the back describes it as a fever dream, an atmospheric fever dream of a novel. Yeah, it pretty much is a fever dream. I mean, it's almost like you don't know really what's real and what's not. It's so like, I don't want to say, not the word delusional. Oh, well, gosh, what's a good word to describe it? Hallucinations? I don't know. This book is it's full of stuff and full of references to fairy tales, and like mythology and stuff, which I think is really cool. Even if I didn't know some of it, I actually want to go through and look up some of the ones that I didn't recognize that they didn't go into too much detail about. But yeah, The only part about the writing in this book is really good. It is very, very flowery and very, very colorful. There's a lot of just like detailed description with lots and lots and lots of metaphor and personification, like comparisons to smells and sights, and very detailed writing with lots of comparisons and allusions and everything like that. And at the beginning, it kind of felt a little overdone. I was like, what are you talking about? I'm really kind of overwhelmed by all of the words you're giving me about this very simple situation. But towards the end, I think it works a little bit better because it's picking up, and I think it's supposed to get more confusing, and it's supposed to get more, kind of like magical, mystical, wild kind of. I honestly feel like this book really delves into relationships with our friends and our family and our partners, and the secrets that we keep from each other, and the way that we treat each other, and the way that we treat ourselves in these relationships, and the fear we have of relationships, and also the way that fairy tales represent that. There's a page in here, hold on, let me see if I can find it, because I thought it was such a cool, hold on, I think it might be this one. Yes, this I thought was a really good paragraph that kind of described it. There is always a peculiar distance to fairy tales. They are denuded of urgency, rinsed of true horror even as the words relish in gore. Love is presented to us as something that must be as vast as a horizon and just as unreachable. But as I counted my breaths and hid XYZ, I won't even spoil that, even though it's not really anything, that boundary of the page lifted, and I understood precisely how the maiden in the robber bridegroom tale must have felt. Robber bridegroom tale must have felt. So kind of bringing fairy tales to life and kind of witnessing how those tales might reflect into real life, into our real relationships, which is obviously so cool. Yeah, this book really is an atmospheric fever dream. It really is a fever dream. Like, there are points where I'm like, I'm not even sure if what's happening is real or not, or if the characters are just like delusional, if that makes any sense. But yeah, like I said, towards the end I was scared. I was frightened, which does not happen to me super often in books, but I was like stressing. I was like, what the heck is going on? And the plot twist isn't like, there's a plot twist at the end that I don't feel like is super, super, super unexpected, but I feel like it works. It works well and it fits well, and I don't have any qualms about it. I actually loved this so much. I loved it so much. I was, once again, emotional attachment to the characters, so well fleshed out and detailed and full of stuff and happenings, and I highly recommend. I think that this book could be very enjoyable for anybody, because it's not even really fantasy. There's elements of fantasy and of fantasy-esque stories, but there isn't any actual like fantasy elements, I think, really enacted into the story, at least not in a traditional sense. So that is that. That is all of the books that I read in March. And in case you can't tell, I really loved all of them. I felt so happy with all of these books that I read, and in so many different ways too. Each of them had, a very different impact on me, but all of them got very high ratings from me for different reasons. But I had so much fun. Especially those last three, like Riders and Lovers, The Night Circus, and The Last Tale of the Flower Bride. All of them just blew me away and were just kind of shocking to me in what they were, and I just wasn't really expecting them to have that kind of impact and be what they were. They kind of all surprised me, which was awesome and just such a joy. So hopefully April gives me some good books and some good happy feelings as well. So yeah, goodbye.